Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi says today marks a new day in the fight against cross-border crime. The department has established a standalone law enforcement entity to guard each of the country's 72 ports of entry. Our reporter Moloko Moloto is following the story and he joins us now. Moloko, I must say that this in principle seems to be very good news, but how exactly is the border management control going to control our borders and ensure that they are safe?
Good afternoon, Heidi Jokas. Well, you would recall that in the past, the borders were actually manned, specifically the border lines on land would be managed by the soldiers. That was during the course of apartheid and all that. However, at this point in time, you will then find the police, and you will also, for instance, find the SARS officials. You will also find the officials from the Home Affairs. So it was a multiple approach, sort of. And the authorities, according to the minister or government, felt that that multiple approach was not effective in effectively controlling and managing our borders and other ports of entry. And as a result, legislation was put in place for the establishment of a single entity, which is the Border Management Authority. Now, this Border Management Authority is established in terms of legislation, and it's being led by a national commissioner. According to the minister, he has the same status as the national commissioner of the South African police, that is Dr. Mike Mashiapata. Now, that entity is now going to be taking over in terms of the authority, all the operations at the ports of entry. Of course, you will still have SARS, you will still have the police, but accountability will now fall squarely on this entity. The significance today, Heidi, is that this entity is today fully taking control at all these 72 ports of entry in South Africa. Majority of them, of course, about 52, are the inland ports of entry, and 11 of them are international airports. The few remainder are seaports. So it was happening here. The launch of this particular important day was happening at the OR Tambo International Airport. As you can see, for instance, behind me, this giant aeroplane, the Airbus A340, which has the capacity of carrying at least 800 passengers, the largest aeroplane or passenger plane in the world. And we were told by the CEO of eNCA, Mpumi Mpofu, that OR Tambo International Airport alone processes no less than 18 million people who come through in and out of the country. So this entity is now going to be taking over when it comes to the movement of people in and out of the country. Let's listen to Minister Aaron Motsoaledi as he speaks to this, because last year you would recall that he unveiled about 200 border guards who are manning particularly the major problematic ports and the major border lines, and he is saying that they are going to recruit 400 more. And these officials, border guards, as of today, the passengers who travel through OR Tambo International Airports and other ports will be able to see them. Let's listen to Minister Aaron Motsoaledi.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is a dawn of a new day in South Africa in terms of border management. It is the day, the 1st of April, that signifies the birth, the independence rather, of the birth of a third law enforcement entity in South Africa. I want to understand that because people usually confuse these things. In South Africa, we have got South African Police Services. That is a well-known law enforcement agency, which has been there for ages. Everybody knows it. In South Africa, we have got the South African National Defence Force, which has also been there for ages, which everybody knows about. Today, on the 1st of April signifies the independence of a new entity which has been in operation for the past 2 years, the Border Management Authority, whose job and area of work, unlike the other two I've mentioned, whose job and area of work is at the ports of entry. And as you know, there are 72 of them, ports of entry, the ports through which people from all over the world come into South Africa. It is 11 international airports.
Moloko, you also got an opportunity to engage with the minister about the 22 Afghan nationals who have insisted on being granted asylum in South Africa. Maybe just briefly tell us about this.
Oh yes, this 22 Afghan nationals, Heidi, approached the Beitbridge border post in South Africa. They were coming from the direction of Zimbabwe because they wanted to enter into South Africa to be granted asylum status, and they went to court, took the South African government to court for the government to process their application. The government opposed that. However, the court ruled in the favor of those Afghani nationals, and it said the government must process their applications. So today I asked the minister about the update. The minister is saying there is no application for asylum before the Department of Home Affairs as we speak. Let's listen to Minister Motsoaledi.
We are made to understand they are still in Zambia. Remember, after the noise was made by South Africans, their own lawyer said they are having a second thought about bringing them in because they realize that people are very uncomfortable about them. Well, he also said including cabinet ministers, etc. Obviously, he was referring to a person like myself. And definitely I was not happy. And even now, I'll still not be happy if they come. Definitely not.
So at this point in time, you are not processing any application from their side?
No.
Thank you so much for that update. That is our reporter Moloko Moloto out at OR Tambo International Airport.